country would rather have their kid go into debt to study sociology at, Wellesley than to go work construction. Can you speak to that? Part of that needs to be a cultural change for specifically suburban America.
This from Donald Trump on Truth Social. The Harvard case was just tried in Massachusetts before an Obama-appointed judge. She is a total disaster, which I say even before hearing her ruling. She has systematically taken over various Harvard cases and is an automatic loss for the people of our country. Harvard has $52 billion sitting in the bank, and yet they are anti-Semitic, anti-Christian, and anti-America. Much of this money comes from the USA, all to the detriment of other schools, colleges, and institutions, and we are not going to allow this unfair situation to happen any longer. How did Trump-hating judge get these cases? When she rules against us, we will immediately appeal and win. Also, the government will stop the practice of giving many billions of dollars to Harvard, much of which has been given without explanation. It is a long-time commitment to fairness in funding and education, and the Trump administration will not stop until there is victory. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So interesting that Trump is preemptively going after the judge before they rule on the Harvard situation, but it is true that Harvard has a $52 billion endowment. It should not get a dime from the government or from any other outside source. It's basically running a giant hedge fund and slush fund, and God knows what it's doing with that money to fund all sorts of nefarious things. And really, it's a little hard to tell if Harvard is ground zero for all of the radical lunacy in the country or if it's Columbia. It's probably Harvard, because Harvard places more high-level people out in politics and corporate world and everything else than Columbia, but Columbia is trying their hardest too. So what does this all lead us to? As these institutions fail, as we realize the corruption, as you end up paying an awful lot to make your kid turn into a gender-furry, queer, communist, jihadist lunatic, perhaps you might want to not send your kid to a place like that, not get into debt to do it, and actually support them learning a skill that they could become quite successful with. And if ever hit the fan, they'd know how to actually do a little something. Here's Charlie Kirk talking to a guy who knows a bit about doing something, Mike Rowe, who does all sorts of dirty jobs, and talking about blue-collar trades and that there is value in actual work.
I want to dive into this for a second. And Mike, you deserve such credit, and I cite you all the time. As you know, I am a outspoken critic of the current college model. I didn't go to college. I represent a lot of blue-collar workers who are fans of our show because I try to give a voice to that portion of the country. But part of the problem, and we call them the muscular class on the show, as you know, Mike, part of the problem are parents around the country would rather have their kid go into debt to study sociology at, Wellesley than to go work construction. Can you speak to that? Part of that needs to be a cultural change for specifically suburban America. If their son says, "Mom, I want to be an electrician," they should applaud that. They should celebrate it. They should encourage it, because they actually might have better character, a better financial balance sheet, less debt, and greater job opportunities than studying communications at University of Illinois. Mike Rowe.
Well, to be charitable about it, I'm sympathetic to parents who are desperately trying not to screw their kids up. There's no playbook for this, of course, and parents want to offer good advice. They don't want to mess it up. They're desperate for an instruction manual. But we fall into this cookie cutter world where, politicians in particular, but lots of other people too, speak very broadly and paint with a real broad brush. And so a lot of parents who really don't know any better have been told from the get-go that the best path for the most people is the most expensive path, and that their kids are screwed if they don't take that path. Therefore, surprise, surprise, universities have been able to charge whatever they want, essentially, because the feds have opened up a bottomless pile of free money, and we have collectively encouraged a whole generation to borrow whatever it takes to fulfill their dreams. So it's not one person doing a really foolish thing. It's a lot of people standing by watching a lot of dumb things happen, including, and perhaps especially, the removal of shop class from high school. That really put us on a road, Charlie, a bad road. And it didn't just impact the widening skills gap. It removed from view any optical proof that a regular kid could have, that these muscular jobs exist, walking from English to math class and sticking your head in the metal shop and seeing that image right there. At least you could get a look at something that resembled work. But we took it all out. We just arbitraged it right out of the whole process. And so parents were left with this idea that there was really only one path for their kid. And if their kid couldn't take that path, everything else, including that guy welding two pipes together, was some sort of vocational consolation prize. Well, the chickens have come home to roost. AI, as I said in that clip, is coming for the coders. It's not coming for that guy. That guy's job is secure, and he's making mid-six figures, and that's the message
well, and this is,
to shout.
Devil is due again. Theme of the week. AI may come for that guy's job eventually, but it's going to take a little bit longer. It's going to come for the coders first, and it's going to come for a lot of the amorphous jobs first. But eventually robots will be able to, weld pipes together and do plumbing and do electric work and everything else. Guys, let's be honest. Most coffee gives you that quick little jolt, and then what? A crash, jitters, that mid-morning brain fog, and before you know it, you're already pouring a second or third cup just to make it to lunchtime. But what if your coffee did more than just wake you up? What if it actually did something good for your body, something real, something lasting? Meet Rejuvenate Coffee. This isn't your average cup of joe. It starts with premium real Arabica beans, so yes, it tastes incredible. But what makes it special is what's inside, a powerful compound called CAAKG. Now, I know that sounds technical, but stick with me. CAAKG is backed by real science. It's been shown to support cellular energy, a healthy metabolism, and even healthy aging. Yeah, you heard that right. Your coffee could actually help you feel better, not just today, but 10 years from now. This isn't a gimmick. It's not a trend. It's a smart decision for people who take their health seriously and who want to feel focused, strong, and dialed in every single day. So if you care about how you feel, not just this morning, but long term, Rejuvenate Coffee is for you. Head on over to 1775coffee.com/Rubin and order a bag of Rejuvenate Coffee today. Fuel your body, protect your future. Rejuvenate. But that aside, the broader point is what they're both saying is right. Of course, that there was a generational thing where you had to, somehow to be a good parent, you had to send your kids into these schools. And then suddenly we sent our kids into these schools, and over decades we realized, boy, not only did they not learn much, they were brainwashed in a lot of ways. They didn't get real skills. Lesbian dance theory is not something that's very applicable in the business world, et cetera, et cetera. Although it does have its merits, and I don't want to say anything bad about lesbian dance theory, but you get the point, that then we abandon these people, and then they're pissed, they're in debt, and they're like, why the hell did you put me into this system, right? And then that leads to all sorts of other things where they want to burn the system down.